Start. Yes, we're on. Okay, so I am Dr. Philip Oob. I'm a functional medicine doctor from Austin, Texas. I've been practicing functional medicine for a little over 3 years, and one of my passions is showing people how to reverse their disease using food, supplements, lifestyle balance, all that. And so luckily I've got this great panel in front of me with a little bit of specialty in each one of those categories or a combination of categories. And so I'm going to do a real quick job of introducing each one of them. And so first I've got Serena Poon here. She is a chef. And she's got her own line called Serena Love. Love Serena?
Serena Loves.
Serena Loves.
And also Just Add Water.
And Just Add Water is a new product line that she has. And then I've got Chef Debbie Lee next to her, who's also another culinary person and has had her own health journey and is making healthy food and changing people's lives by delivering meals. Then I've got Richard Ayub, who oddly enough has a similar last name to mine. And gosh, Richard's kind of been all over the place as far as digital, but his latest adventure has been this Angel Food project as far as delivering healthy food to people and even attempting to come across the Medicare or Medicaid population. You'll call it Medi-Cal here in California.
Yes.
And just doing some astonishing stuff. He'll talk more about that. And then Dr. Pat Wynne-Jones, who is all about epigenetics and maintaining the body and really giving the body everything it needs to heal itself. I don't think I did a good job as she's going to do. So first of all, I just want to kind of open the table and ask the panel how you guys use food as medicine and what you expect from food when you're using it as medicine. So anyone's welcome to start. Not everyone at once.
I can start. I am the executive director of Project Angel Food, and we serve 1,300 people a day in Los Angeles, and they all have medical illness, and every meal is medically tailored to their illness. So we serve about 600,000 meals a year, and we just surpassed the 11.5 million mark. We've been around for almost 30 years, which is phenomenal. So if someone has diabetes, we have a special meal that brings down those A1C levels. And if someone has renal failure or kidney problems, we have a meal with reduced potassium, phosphorus, and sodium. That's a very difficult diet to put together because you can have potatoes, but the potatoes have to be leached for 30 minutes.
Sure.
So for you to try and figure that out as just a regular person, it's very challenging. So we take care of all that. These meals are free, have always been free, and about 88% of our funding comes from private individuals, foundations, and corporations. We only get 18% funding from the federal government. Actually, all the governments, federal, state, and local.
Okay. Richard, one of the things I learned before this was how you told us how you were actually conducting research on feeding people and reducing hospitalizations, and I think you need to tell people about this because this is huge.
Well, this is what's really exciting about this food as medicine movement that's going on is it's not just bringing love to people in the form of food, it also has a return on your investment. And we're in the middle of a state pilot program where Medi-Cal, which is Medicaid in California, is reimbursing us for meals to people with congestive heart failure. And we're taking on 60 clients, we have 10 so far, and we're providing them 3 months of 3 meals a day with an intense nutrition intervention. And 10 have completed the program. Of those 10, we know that actually 10 are on the program, 5 have completed it. 3 out of the 5 did not return to the hospital once in 3 months, which is huge. The 2 doctors on both corners here can tell you that saves thousands of dollars.
Let me actually interrupt you there, Richard. That one day in the hospital is at least $1,000. And these heart failure patients, they're not just a regular, oh, you come in, you get your antibiotic shot, and you leave the next day. These are sick people. They need oxygen. They need medications around the clock. They need IV medications. So it's literally thousands of dollars per day. And usually a heart failure patient doesn't just come in and come out. They're there for a good 3 days. So by some rough math, the minimum you saved was $6,000. Do you know how much food food you can buy for $6,000. This is the future of medicine. We've got to change people's nutrition so that we can keep them out of the hospital.
On top of that, their quality of life.
Yeah, they're
Just the
actually healthier.
fact that they don't have to go back into the hospital, it doesn't put a burden on their family, it doesn't put a burden on themselves. Every time they go into the hospital, family members have to take them to the hospital, they have to visit them, they have to bring them back home, they have to take days off of work. So this has ripple effects all over the place.
Yeah. Debbie, Serena, one of you will have to weigh in.
I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, I do it on a much smaller scale, of course, with private clients and individuals. So, you know, the numbers I reach are much smaller, but it's the same thing, you know, just using food and creating recipes that are just, they're like custom designed for people with specific problems. So I've had clients who have had cancer, you know, a lot of them have thyroid issues and just simple, you know, like stomach issues, bowel issues, different types of infections, autoimmune, just everything. And they usually come to me after having gone through all this medical treatment and taking so much medication and just cleaning up their diet and showing them how simple, whole, clean foods and organic foods can help. It's changed their life, you know? So I wouldn't say don't do the chemotherapy or don't take the medicine that your doctor tells you to take, but we at least create programs that are complementary and supportive, because a lot of the medication, as you know, as a doctor, you know, it may fix one thing and one symptom, but then it causes all these other, you know, side effects that are, it's not the type of lifestyle people want to live. So I have found it to be so rewarding, and people get better and their lives are changed, and it's also sustainable once you simplify it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting nowadays because, you know, we have a family of 3. I have a stepdaughter. And, you know, we both work for a living. And I think the biggest challenge with families nowadays is that you're wondering, how long do we have to take to put food on the table,
Yep.
you know? I was sort of my own guinea pig, you know? I had a great food career, TV career with Food Network. I had my cookbook. I was living like I thought a rock star. And I
You
went
are a
in
rock
for...
just saying.
Well, let's take that. And I went in for my physical. I remember it was 2010, and the doctor was like, you know, your glucose is high, your A1C is pretty high, you know. And I ignored it because I was like, well, I'm going to the restaurant show. I'm going to go and eat my way through the city. And 2 years later, she's like, we really got to talk. It's serious. I was a whopping 216 pounds. Okay. I'm 5'2". That's a lot of Korean. So, but you know, I created, and I had to re-step and rethink how to cook, how to be healthy and sustainable, just like Serena, you know, and personal too. My mother is a diabetic. She has AFib. My father has, God bless him, survived the last stage of prostate cancer and is still in remission. But you know, those things make you change in how you decide what to put on the table. And a lot of moms, you know, because I belong to a mom's group on Facebook, of course, and they ask, well, how, you know, it seems so tedious. Well, how tedious is it if you have to take your child in every week to the hospital? How tedious is it when you have to wrestle with your child to give them a shot of insulin, you know? Or even yet, God forbid, there's a heart disease issue, you know, because just poor food planning. So, you know, those little steps, you know, that you take in your home with your family makes the hugest difference down the road and gives you that quality life you all want.
Absolutely. I'm going to change gears and bring in Dr. Wynne Jones on this part to talk about, so that's a huge topic we can talk more about, but what about our epigenetics and our perception of the food we're eating in our own bodies? Give us some.
Well, epigenetics. Epigenetics is the new science that states how you perceive your environment can actually affect your physiology by directing gene expression. In layman's terms, the happier you are, the healthier your body will be. You have the ability. Well, I tell my patients when they come into my office, you're already whole, perfect, and complete. If you can get the things out of the way, the chatter out of the way, your body will express its perfect balance. But there's so much in the media, and just in our culture that just chatter, and you start to believe it. Between conception and age 6, everything that you hear is downloaded without any filters, and that becomes the foundation for how you live the rest of your life. So whatever you hear, whatever you see, whatever comes into your awareness, that's the foundation. And from there, it just can be so damaging and so destructive. You know what the children are watching in the video games and on the cartoons and what's being touted as entertainment. And they see that and they have the stress responses. High stress levels, high cortisol levels, which is what's elicited in our bodies when we're undergoing stress, can actually change how you metabolize your foods. If you are stressed and eating all the right things, your body won't even recognize it. So that's a very, very large part of the foods that you eat. But if you're eating toxic foods, it's even worse. So what my panel guests are saying to you is telling you how to eat, how to choose the right foods. But more than the foods you eat and more than your exercise level is how you think about it, how you perceive it. That can make all the difference in the world.
I agree with everything that you're saying, Doctor. I mean, it's a lot of what I teach my clients, and it's a big part of my philosophy as well, is that mindfulness that you have when it comes to feeding your body and nourishing your body with foods, because you know how you perceive the food is how you receive the food. And you know, something that I talk a lot about is self-care, and that's sort of like a very first step, fundamental basic in self-care, is just knowing that you're, you know, not to rush through your coffee, your tea, or your breakfast, you know, to know that when you're having, this is nourishing your body, fueling your body, especially if it is with good whole foods, you know, and then your body just receives it differently. In that moment of it can be a moment of like chaos, or it can be a moment of calm. Those 3 minutes that you have while you're steeping your tea before the kids get up, or whatever it is, it's just sort of your mindset about it, as you were saying, and then how you receive that moment is different. It's almost meditative, you know. You don't have to block out 15 minutes and you know, you can block out 5 minutes and make your tea, and it's also feeding and nourishing your body.
So I'm going to take that, and one of my favorite things to do is take some of the loose, hokey stuff that we do in medicine and holistic medicine and make it real and biochemical and make it actual doctory. So we've got a yin and yang system in our body, a parasympathetic system, that's our rest and digest, and we have a sympathetic system, that's our fight and flight. And it's really easy to activate your fight or flight system, right? Panic, coffee, everything we do activates our fight or flight system. The parasympathetic system, the rest and digest system, is the opposite. You can't really activate that so easily. That activates in the absence of the fight or flight. Yes, meditating, breathing, there's only a few things you can do to control that parasympathetic portion. But really, when you sit down to eat, you have very little control of what happens to the food after you chew it and after you swallow it, right? There's only one more choice you have to make, is when you eliminate it. And other than that, from mouth all the way to anus, there's nothing you can do to control it. And that's all the parasympathetic system. So if you're not allowing your parasympathetic system to activate, you're not appropriately digesting your food. You can't control how much stomach acid you make, or how much bile, or how much pancreatic enzymes you make. So if you're overactivated and you're just running, then you can't actually digest the food. So yes, to everyone's point, you have to eat the right food, but if you're not perceiving it, that it's healthy food, and especially if it's a diet, right? You're looking at it like, oh my God, as Chef Debbie told me, they're like, this is a punishment that I have to eat this food. No.
I told you, I don't want boiled chicken and steamed broccoli for dinner.
No. So if you're already looking at your food that's healthy, to Dr. Wynne Jones' point, but you hate it, then it's not going to be healthy and nourishing for your body. So let's take that and run with it, chefs. What can people do? Oh, looks like
Just one
Dr.
more
Wynne has
thing.
it.
There's a part of the brain called the hypothalamus, and for every emotion that you have, we've already mapped this out, there's a neurochemical that matches it. So for fear, anger, doubt, envy, there's a toxic neurochemical that drips into the bloodstream and bathes every cell in the body. Depending on the organ system, you'll come up with certain symptoms. And for love, joy, laughter, another type of neurochemical that will enhance the immune system, delay aging, enhance healing. So while you're eating your foods, if you're not liking it, you're also dripping like acid into your bloodstream. And
That's
it's
a great
going to
point.
affect, and it will compromise your immune system and make you more vulnerable to illnesses. So the food will not work for you. But this is the best science behind why laughter is the best medicine. So yes, you have to enjoy yourself. Your brain cannot tell the difference between whether you are imagining a stress or if you're seeing a stress. They've done studies where they will map out the brain, and they will show the brain looking at an apple, thinking about an apple, or holding an apple. The same spots light up. So if it's an imaginary stress or a real stress, those neurochemicals are still going into your bloodstream. So that's something to really consider
There's
as you're
been
eating.
a lot of talk, to go on that same point, there's been a lot of talk of cannabis at this convention. And so you brought up an earlier point when we were meeting about one of the reasons cannabis works, you believe, is
Because it calms you.
makes
So
sense.
you are having those positive neurochemicals in the bloodstream, but you can get there on your own. There's so many other ways to get there. There are so many epigenetic-based treatment options that are available to you. And we can talk about that.
And then there is, I just wanted to point out one thing about stress. There's the food stress of being food insecure, not knowing where your next meal is
Yeah.
coming from.
Yeah.
And so we deal with that population, and we take that out of the equation because our population is living on $800 a month with the SSI. And if they didn't have our food, they couldn't pay the rent. It's food or rent. So now they get the food, and if they weren't getting our food, they'd be buying stuff at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And because they didn't have the money to buy the healthy, nutritious stuff. And so taking out that stress from them is a big relief especially when you're sick. That's a big, big relief.
I mean, I think that it's incredible what you guys do, especially, when you see, we as chefs, and I've had a catering company on and off for years, but one of the things we always do is donate to kids.
Yeah.
And we go to the inner cities. And it's heartbreaking to think that, if you put a label that's organic or sustainable or non-GMO, that it has to be, in everybody's mind, more expensive, I think as a universe, as a country, first and foremost, like we're America, we need to find more economical ways to those communities that don't have, like you said, to be able to choose between food and rent, that's not a place any child should have to think about, ever. And so, my stepdaughter, we sometimes have told her, she's at that age now, she's 9, we want her to be part of, feeding the homeless, feeding the underprivileged, and realizing how lucky she is, not just to let her know that, hey, you've got a great life with us, but most important, everybody has to pitch in. And, a lot of my farmers that I deal with here in Southern California, they are so amazing to the community. And what I always, tell people is go and support your farmers market,
Yeah.
go and support local, because not just are you supporting them, their business, you're supporting them to be able to do another thing and make food more cost-effective and available. And I think that's the first step. That's really the big thing.
We could probably go on forever about that, right? I'm sure all of us could. So someone mentioned kids, and that's one of the passions of my heart. I've got 2 young kids. Sounds like multiple of you guys have kids. So one of my pet peeves is when I hear kid food. Like, where's the kid food? Like, there is no such thing as kid food.
No.
It's called junk food.
Yeah.
And kids are going to eat whatever you put in front of them. So I've got my own tricks and things I use on my own kids. But what about the chefs? What can we do to feed our kids? How can we get our kids involved in food and realize its nutrition?
Well, I think just from my experiences with my clients and, working with kids, getting them involved in the kitchen is a huge thing,
Especially the knives, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, a lot of knives.
Sure, the
Yeah,
knives,
yeah.
the flames, the fire, get them right over the stove. But yeah, they love it. You know, they love being a part of what we're doing, what the adults are doing. You know, they love seeing what they love to see how we created a final product, whether it's a pizza or a pie or, I mean, anything, an omelet. They love being a part of it. And I think that when you involve the kids, even in small ways, and then they can partake in the finished product, they really love it. And I mean, the biggest thing is don't expose your kids to junk food. You know, just don't, they shouldn't even know what a processed food is. And they won't have a taste for it. They won't want it. They won't like it. You know, they might see their friends at school with it, and that's a slightly different battle. That's when you'll have to sort of make your homemade alternatives to those same foods. But get them involved in the kitchen. They love it. Make a game of it. And, you know, it kind of makes food is love, and it really kind of ties it all together when you do that in the home. So
Yeah,
Debbie?
they definitely take ownership. They want it, like, you know, they
Yeah.
make it, they want to eat it, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're like, it's mine.
yeah, and they're proud of it.
Exactly,
And, you know, so it makes it fun too.
Yeah. I mean, when I met my stepdaughter, she was 4 years old and she ate 3 things.
Chicken nuggets.
Steamed Japanese Korean rice, white rice only.
Okay.
And she could smell the difference and see the difference if you gave her basmati or jasmine or anything. She was a rice connoisseur. Chicken McNuggets, and they had to be from Trader Joe's.
Oh,
and
at
edamame,
least
that
she
was
had a
one
good-
meal. And the other meal, it had to be, she had to show it was Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, we laugh about it till this day. She's like 9 going on 20, right? But I make family meals for clients, so we added a thing, because when we moved down to Orange County, I joined Mom's Page, and a lot of moms were like, well, could you cook for our family for dinner? Because in that way, I can stay on my program, and then I can introduce my kids to healthy eating, you know, because that's the first step. And so I would make things and not tell Sophie that, oh, yeah, that macaroni and cheese is made out of chickpea pasta. And it's great.
you don't tell.
Yeah, you don't tell, right? But, you know, it's interesting now, and when you talk about cooking, Serena, that's so important, because I remember it was Father's Day, our first Father's Day together at a grandfather's house, and she saw me chopping, cooking, making guacamole. She goes, what are you doing? I go, making guacamole. She goes, well, the color's pretty. And she goes, can I help? Can I, you know, she wanted to toss the red onion, the cilantro, pretend to be a chef, and she tasted it. And so she was like, oh my God, I love it. And she ate a big old bowl, you know? And I remember Dawn was like, that is the first time she's touched an avocado. Like, that is crazy. And till this day, she's, can I have avocado toast this morning? Can I just have avocado with sausage or eggs? And now she's way more open, you know? But I know as a parent, and listen, I get it. I'm in the kitchen 12 hours a day. When I come home and we pick up from swim, what do I put on the table? I get it. And I know I have the luxury of taking leftovers from our kitchen, but there are a lot of easy ways. And luckily, thank goodness, we're at that point where I feel there's this big food revolution where, whether it's the Whole Foods, the Trader
Yeah.
Joe's, there's so many outlets. Amazon, my God, make your life easy, but do a
Foods
little.
can be delivered to you.
Exactly.
There's Instacart. There's, you know, partially prepped ingredients at the supermarket. And I mean, I always tell clients I teach them to make sauces that can also be dressings, that can also be marinades. And so, you know, you can have 3 different sauces that you can make 10 different things out of, right?
Yeah.
So there's all these little tricks.
Yeah.
But the supermarkets now really have changed so that it makes it a lot easier to cook at home, because you might pay 79 cents more, but you saved yourself 15 minutes of
Right.
chopping. So, so it's very attainable and sustainable.
This is going to be a little different question, but with Richard and Dr. Wayne Jones, how do you guys handle food addiction? So when you're delivering a meal to somebody that's not typically what they've eaten, what's your, and I don't mean food addiction like they're stuck on M&Ms or something. I mean like, wow, you've radically changed their diet and they're withdrawing from the previous foods.
Well, here's something that you all could address is, this is something interesting that we see is you can be obese and still be malnourished.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't seem to make sense in your head, but we have a lot of clients who are obese and they have malnutrition, and we have to provide them with their meals. And, you know, we're providing the right portion of a meal, and for them to learn that that's the type of portion you should be eating and that's the kind of meal you should learn. We do nutritional education with them. but obesity goes hand in hand with diabetes and sometimes kidney disease. So we're seeing multiple conditions going on because of that. But to change habits, very, very challenging, because people are used to putting salt on their food. And if you have congestive heart failure, you can only have 2 grams of salt a day. That's a tablespoon of salt. And what I didn't know until just recently is that a stalk of celery has 32 milligrams of sodium in it. And that's just naturally in it. So when a doctor tells someone with CHF, you go on a low sodium diet, they don't know how to do it. That's a really hard diet to do. And when you do education, it takes a long time for it to stick. In fact, we had one client who was on this 3-month intervention, and he was readmitted into the hospital twice in those 3 months.
$12,000.
$12,000.
Minimum.
He wasn't adhering to the diet. He was cheating. On the last week, he started weighing himself. He started keeping a log of the food, and then we had to stop giving him meals. So it broke my heart that we couldn't keep him on the program when he was finally getting it. It takes time, and
Yeah.
you all would know better
Yeah.
how it takes to change habits.
I mean, I think for me, when I work with clients, in order to make it sustainable, you really do have to sort of ease into it. You know, even if someone needs to be on a very strict low sodium diet, I can't cut them cold turkey right away. They won't stay on it for more than a week, you know, so you do have to reduce by percentages. And that's what I've learned to be, but it's tough depending on what stage that they're at. You know, what their condition is, but and that I think that kind of goes along with sort of balance, you know, and balance is what is sustainable. So sometimes you do have to sort of baby step it through, you know, a program that goes 2 or 3 months, and then it becomes sustainable.
You have to meet the patient where they are.
Yeah.
If
and-
they're on the far end of the spectrum, you start there, and then maybe by 25% start lowering it, away from the extreme. You also, well, what I do is I teach them to meditate and to pay attention to what their body's saying. If you can just get still, and then maybe first thing in the morning eat something, and then wait 2 hours or an hour or so. See how you feel. If you're starting to feel jittery, that's something that you may want to start to avoid, and you'll start reducing it slowly. It's really hard, I will admit, for someone to stop cold turkey. And a lot of times it's not safe. But slowly paying attention to what you feel and how certain foods make you feel, it gives you more of an education. You start to really assess where you are. That's a good place to start.
Body awareness. I
Body
try to teach
awareness.
all my patients about body awareness. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a stressor or a food. If you can learn what your body reacts to, you have taught yourself something invaluable that no one else can tell you. And once you learn that, you never unlearn it. So when we reverse disease and we help people get better, they've learned so much about their body and what works for them that it becomes natural to be sustainable, you know, because one of my things people ask me is like, oh, what's the best diet out there? And my response is usually like, whatever is sustainable for the patient and whatever works for that patient. It takes experimentation, right, Debbie? Sometimes we have to experiment with all of them before we find the
Well,
one that
it's
works
so
for us.
funny because people call me and go, so I want to do keto. I heard it's a thing that makes you lose weight. Well, it can, but it wasn't really to lose weight. It was for neurological disorders and seizures, you know? And just as you said, everybody has to go at their own pace, you know? You know, Dr. Pat's right. It's like, if you're not willing to go low carb, strip the sugar, it's going to work for maybe one meal and then some. You know, we do a program called Food Recovery for special clients, and
Recovery.
yes, it's what I go into their homes, and it's for certain clients that need that special attention. Where if we deliver a meal to them, because the food is the one portion, but the first and foremost, and I'm 100% with Pat. Dr. Pat, is that your mind has to be set, right? I have a couple that I've just recently been cooking for this week. and they thought everything they had was healthy and sustainable. And I start by taking their fridges and their cupboards, and I'm sure you do this too at their homes, right? But the emotional attachment they have to the food, it's not about the food, it's about what it represents, it's about them, sometimes I have clients break down and cry over it because they feel like and I go, you haven't done anything wrong, there is no right or wrong answer. It's about what your body works with and what your body can do with it. And, and I'm all about, like I said, right now, because I just turned 1 year older, so I turned 25 now. So
You're finally maturing.
So for me, I'm like, okay, I want to get to my pre-dating fighting weight. So of course, I'm doing a little bit lower carb, but that doesn't mean that I don't go out and have a family meal somewhere, and treat myself. And that was one thing that I've been really, really honest with my clients about. I'm not going to tell you that I don't go and get myself a slice of pizza once in a while, or if I'm on vacation, I'm going to go and get that cheeseburger in that city or something. But you got to stop beating yourself up. All you have to do is think about forward and think about now, where do we go from here? And, thank God for, people like Serene and Dr. Pat and Richard, because that's the first battle. I'm more of the production side, but on one hand, we do go in there, we strip them, and then last night when I was making our client the meal, and he's been diabetic for 20 years, he's never woke up without a blood sugar of less than 150 on a fasting,
Normal's less than 90,
right.
in case you didn't know.
Yeah, and he's on insulin, metformin. He's, he
that's with
cycles, everything. He's literally they've touched my souls in ways I can't describe. And he had 4 stents put in a few weeks ago. Wow. So he found me, came to me, and I went in there and I made him what he did not believe could be a balanced diet. And for the past 2 days, he's woke up every morning, 95, 100. Wow. And mind you, I can't take all the credit. My business partner is Dr. Kate Shanahan, and so she does the medical nutrition on them. But, that being said, last night, he just gave me the hugest hug and said, you've given me hope. But I'm not the one that gives them hope. I give them the tools. You give yourself hope. And that's coming from a former chubbier girl who's still a little curvy and is still a work in progress. And we all are.
Did he find that he liked the meals,
Oh,
surprisingly?
I gave him that grain-free mac and cheese and said I could just live on that on every meal for the rest of the year. But no, I mean, because I think there's a lot of theories, and I'm sure both of you guys have heard the theories of don't have any protein, the old school thoughts, and what now we know is different, and what we've discovered that's different. And God, he was so excited to see like this beautiful, not a huge piece, but a beautiful piece of a pork chop with little collard greens, and giving him that sense of home, And that's our jobs as chefs, if someone were to ask me 10 years ago that I would be here talking with you guys about health and wellness and, integrative medicine, I would tell you guys you're out of your mind.
Welcome to our tribe.
And, it's been the most rewarding part of my career as a chef. It really has. To just see one person's life, health change, that's more, because to me, I think to myself, God, I wish there were more of me when I was that age or when I was younger, and I could have known better instead of, beating myself up mentally and feeling, I should be, listen, I've always wanted to be that stick-thin, Asian girl, and it never happened, and that was half of my battle. But, I'm not going to stop talking.
The number one thing that no one can value is your health. There's no price tag on your health. Once you lose it, you will spend anything. If you have any sense, you will spend anything to get it back. And it's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
It starts with food. It starts with your mentality. But our medical system is broken because that's not where it starts when you go to the doctor, right? It starts with a prescription. It starts with a pill.
I can tell you, a year ago, I had a physical, and the doctor said your bad cholesterol level is kind of high. I want to put you on, is it statin?
Yeah.
Statin. And I thought, why does he want to put me on medication? And so he goes, let's check you in 3 months. And so I created my own diet, CD90 diet, cholesterol diet, 90 days. And I started eating oatmeal every morning and ate salmon for omega-3 and cut out all red meat and did some of Oprah's stuff, cut out all the white stuff. And I actually went to him in 4 months instead of 3 months, and my bad cholesterol levels dipped, I think, by 50. And he was stunned. He said, keep doing what you're doing, it's working. But doctors really, he said, I'm on it, you could be on it.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's
like,
preventative.
I don't want to be on it. No, I don't want to be on it every day for the rest of my life. And so I tried it. He said, it's probably hereditary. And I'm like,
No, it's
I
what
deal
I'm,
with that
it's
a
hereditary
lot.
because I'm eating what my parents ate, yeah.
Yeah, I actually do. I battle that a lot with traditional, Western doctors, where my clients will come to me and say, my doctors tell me to be on a statin. These are my numbers, and I look at all their labs, and I'm like, no. Let's just change these 5 things in your diet for like a week, 2 weeks, and you'll see the results in less than 3 or 4 months. And I think a lot of it is just education, because this integrative thing I've been doing for a long time and felt so much more resistance 10 years ago, of course, and then just less and less, thank goodness, over the years, as the information is more available, and the information's out there, resources are out there, so people can find that they don't have to be on these medications. Maybe some do, but there's a lot that you can take care of just through food.
The majority.
Our
Yeah.
bodies are very, very intelligent.
Oh,
It knows
yeah.
it knows when it's healthy, it knows how to get healthy. The only reason the medications even work in your body is because on the cell membrane, there are receptors that will recognize the medications that you take. But those receptors were there before those medicines were ever introduced in the laboratory. So those receptors recognize something already in your body, whether it's something from foods, whether it's thoughts, whether it's vibrations, but it can recognize it without all the side effects. So there's something else, and I really love that you all give the right foods, the healthier foods, because you could eat, let's put it this way, I love dark chocolate, but if dark chocolate has ground glass in it, I should probably avoid it. So you can make shifts, something that tastes just as good, that is not damaging, but the general public may not know what they are. So thank you for what you do.
I think the scary part is that our profession is, I just graduated from residency 5-6 years ago, and nutrition is still not taught. That
Oh
means
my
if I
goodness.
just came out, it's still not being taught today. We've got so far to go. So one of my passions has been teaching other doctors, teaching other physicians, nurse practitioners, PAs, whatever it may be, to do what I do in order to spread this word. And then also going online, going on Facebook, going on Instagram, YouTube, making videos, making posts, blog posts, talking to people, getting this message out there. So I think the people are going to make this movement happen faster than the doctors are going to make this happen. The demand, the whole supply and the demand. We've got plenty of supply of physicians and drugs, but it's time to create a demand for something else to push physicians into this. Physicians, NPs, everything. So my question on the segue to that is, what can we do to empower people to spread this knowledge? How can we get creative? How can we use our digital world to spread this?
Well, photos are huge.
Food
And
photos.
I have to preface, I'm sort of old school when it comes to, I'm really bad at technology, so, I mean, I wished I was one of those guys who had like a zillion followers, but I'm not, because I'm just not great at it. But, and then I look at photos and it makes you drool, it makes you want something, I mean, Serena has some of the most beautiful photos I've seen on Instagram, and I mean, I'm like, I have to be honest, I cook for a living 24/7, and if I'm lucky to get home to have a meal and talk to Sophie for 30 minutes and ask her how her day at school went, I'm lucky. So, but the whole universe of Instagram, I think, has made a huge impact on the food world, especially the sustainability world, I mean, God bless them. It's something that, taking that time, getting the word out, and sharing from your table, sharing from your client's home. Sometimes if I get a chance, I'll do a little, I know I've had Instagram for 4 years, I just realized how to do an IG story. It's tragic, but I was like, oh, now I can show them, talk to them about the beans that I like, and why I like these beans. But, I think people sharing, even if, and I just got, referred from the I got onto the Trader Joe's Moms for Meals, and I think it's a great site because there's so many people there that they care about what they're putting into their families' bodies. And they'll post a great photo. I'm like, wow, that looks really good. I mean, or they'll even do a quick video with their kids all over the place and stuff. And I think that is such a huge thing, and I commend, especially the social media, like people that are such pros like Serena to be able to do that. No,
Don't be
seriously.
so hard on yourself.
No.
I mean,
No,
I
it's
posted my
great.
first IG story in the spring, okay? I think they launched it 3 years ago. So don't be so hard on yourself. I understand it. I get it. It's a lot
Right.
of work.
It's a
and
lot of work.
But I mean, I think whether or not your following is 300 or 300,000, that's still 300 people's lives that you're
Absolutely.
affecting.
Not only
So-
300, remember, we all have social
Yeah, we're
networks. You
all-
affect
yeah.
300
we're all
people,
linked.
you've
Yeah.
touched thousands.
Yeah.
100%. And I mean, that's actually what made me start to really embrace social
Right.
media when, I can honestly say that I'm a pretty private person. I share when I'm one-on-one. I'm much more of a one-on-one person. But because I realized that there was an interest in what I was talking about, whether it's something that was a nutrition tip or a recipe or even just a photo, I felt like there was, I felt a sense of responsibility and realized that there's this amazing platform and this world out there that's sort of what made me work at it a little bit more and a little
Yeah.
bit more and, kind of how it grew. So, and, you just get better with practice, trust me. It didn't come easy.
They're not always
I make a
winners.
joke, and I know sometimes some of my Asian friends get upset, but I am the worst with the camera. So
So we've only got a few more minutes, and you can clearly tell we're all passionate about this. It's starting to get very passionate about what we want to talk about, get those words out. Does anybody have any questions? Food is such a hot topic, several questions. So we're going to have to do quick. What's your question? Yes?
So I have been seeing, and I think you guys may have seen this also, there's a really large movement to the amount of food allergies that we're seeing now. I grew up, maybe there was a kid with a peanut allergy. Now we're seeing people with multiple food allergies and a lot over the course of different categories of food outside of tree nuts. What do you guys think is causing that? How do you think we're going to deal with that? How do you think medically we're going to be?
Can I take this one?
Absolutely.
So the question is, why so many food allergies and sensitivities, as we like to call it in my practice? Why is it climbing? And if you haven't heard the term leaky gut yet, you're gonna. And if you haven't heard it, you need to Google it right now, because it is the problem that basically causes all disease, all autoimmunity, all allergies, food sensitivities, and whatnot. That we're supposed to have a barrier on our inside. It's weird to think that when we eat food, this is like an hour-long discussion. It's gonna be like 30 seconds, okay? When you eat an apple, it doesn't enter you. It passes through you. You eat the apple, your body takes what it wants and leaves the rest in as poop, and then it comes out, right? So that barrier is supposed to be intact all of the time. But with the inflammatory foods, with the wrong foods, with the yeast overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, with all the dysbiosis that you have going on in your gut, that barrier starts to open up. And as soon as that barrier starts to open up, no matter what you're eating, no matter what you're exposed to, it could be spinach, it's coming into your body. And once it's into your body, you have one way to kill it. It's your immune system. So once your immune system identifies something as foreign, guess what? It's really good at what it does. So if you eat that food, it automatically becomes inflammatory. Your immune system was never supposed to see that food. It was supposed to turn into stool and enter the toilet. So the reason why you reacted is because your bowels are leaking. And that's basically the basis of my practice, is reversing leaky gut and reversing disease. Wow. Great question. Okay, I'm getting the signal that we are done. Great question. Sorry we didn't get to you, but y'all are welcome to talk to us afterwards. We only have a few minutes. Apparently there's another stage coming up. So thank you guys for being attentive. Awesome panel, awesome discussion. Great job, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Y'all are awesome.